areas, which we can control so that we're attentive to the food allergy issue. And if a teacher wanted to have food in the class as part of the lesson, in fact, we had a math teacher asking to have some candy as a part of a discrete math lesson, and we said, fine, no problem, just make sure we get a piece. I didn't get it either. I thought maybe you got mine. We'll have to follow up on that one. But obviously, a lot of the language programs also have celebrations that are related to food, the Day of the Dead, in the Spanish language program. So anything that's curriculum related, we certainly would approve. We just ask to be notified about it so that we're aware of what's going on in the building. Honor code, Harwich High School had an honor code policy where any student who a teacher felt had violated a policy in terms of cheating or plagiarism, there was a process in place where a student could bring that to the department chairperson to have them review that allegation and make a decision. And if the student was not happy with that decision, they could take it to a second level of appeal, which was a small committee, which involved student, teacher, and they would review the entire situation and make their decision. And at each of those levels, either the department chairperson or the small committee could alter the teacher's decision and say, well, I'm going to have you repeat that assignment. We're going to give you an alternate assignment. Instead of taking the test, we'd like you to verbally convey the information to the teacher. So the students liked it because there were other options that they could pursue to present their case to, and they felt that it was fair. So Chatham liked that, so that has been adopted here as well. A few of the other things, we've always had an athletic handbook, but it was a separate document, which was kind of silly to have two different documents floating around, and where are they, and get the right one. And so we merged them together. The athletic handbook is at the end of the student parent handbook. The entire student parent handbook will be available online. After you approve it, we will place it online. The attorney made some suggestions and some items that were changes in law, revisions in law that we needed to include. There were major policy changes. We've always had 37H and 37H and a half, and now there's 37H and 3/4, which deals with suspensions and expulsions for students. So that new language has been added to the handbook. Security cameras, that was never a part of the Harwich High School nor the Chatham High School handbook, but since we have a new facility and we have significant security in place, the attorney really did a very nice job of presenting what should be in our handbook, so that's integrated in the handbook. We also added a section on 504 accommodation plans. That had been in the handbook, embedded in another section. Now it is a standalone section and it includes much more information. A section on food allergies is included. We have a new section on the abuse neglect policy. We've added a small synopsis on English language learners and what we provide for English language learners. Towards the end of the handbook, the attorney actually put together a very nice synopsis of some of the laws in a chart form. And there were revisions in the law to student records, tutoring, policy on disciplining students with special needs, physical restraint, harassment, and grievance procedures. And bullying, hazing, we've always had sections in our handbooks on that, but there were some minor revisions. And a lot of the suggestions from the attorney was to standardize what each of the handbooks was saying. So parents were consistently reading the same type of language and it was presented in the same fashion. So you have your handbooks. I have to apologize to Amanda Alton. At the time this went to press, we did not have your name, but tomorrow morning, first thing, we will add that. And with any other revisions that we need to make, we'll make those revisions. I myself actually caught a few little typos here and there. They've already been corrected. But the nice thing is the handbook is not in hard copy format. So when we need to make changes, revisions, corrections, it's very easy to do. It's posted online, and we can notify parents and student student body through the Connect Ed, or Bill is doing a Friday Focus newsletter to parents. We can alert them to changes as well. And then finally, students and parents, since hopefully this will be available to students tomorrow, students received a sign-off page in their summer mailing packet, and they will have until this coming Monday to review the handbook, sign off that they've acknowledged receiving it and reviewing it. They sign off, their parent signs off, and they turn that into the office, and then we keep that on file. So that's an overview of our committee. Any questions?
Any questions?
My question is, this is hugely helpful.
Good.
Lots of great information. It seems as though the only, except for merging the things from Chatham and Harwich, it seems like the only new thing, with the exception of the new laws that you mentioned, that was added was security cameras. Is that correct?
Well, new was the merged policies on hats and cell phones and foods. Each school did something differently
Yes.
with that. And the chemical health and the attendance, each district had it in a slightly different version that's merged. So the truly new items for the high school handbook has been the 37H and 3/4, the laws regarding the suspensions and the expulsions, the security cameras, the food allergies, the abuse neglect, the English language learners, the synopsis of the laws. Those are the new elements. The others are revised versions.
That's really helpful.
And it's a work in progress. I'm sure there'll be many more things as the school year progresses.
I was just gonna say, I like the fact that it's all online and you don't have the hard copy, so they can't come to you and say, but it says right here, and you can update it and.
Right.
It's-
Right.
Good
And
thing
any
with
parent,
technology.
any student that wants a hard copy version, I'll print them out, whatever they would like. Usually they're interested in a particular section, so I'll print out a section for them. So we'll accommodate people that want that hard copy.
So along that lines, when you're revising, how will the students and the parents know when something's revised?
Well, we don't make a willy-nilly revision either. If we're considering something, we discuss it with the faculty. We'll vet it through student council to get the students' opinions and feelings on something. And then the faculty will take their vote. It will go through school council. And then, excuse me, when the decision is made to implement that, we have the Connect Ed system to alert parents. Attention parents, there's been a new section to the handbook on such and such. You'll find it on page 5. Any questions, please contact administration.
And I'd say ideally, you're not changing your handbook within the course of the year. You come up at the end of the year, here are the changes that we're going to put in place for the next year.
Which goes before school committee as well. You will be informed for any changes.
Definitely, if there was some significant change that we needed to make mid-year, it would go through all of our internal levels, and then it would come to school committee for final approval.
Thank you so much.
Right.
I really appreciate all the work that went into this. And I'm sure it was a tremendous amount of work, and you're all to be complimented for the hard work you put into it. I did have a question. You mentioned in your handout, you talk about the process that you went through, and as you were talking, you talked about the different organizations you consulted with teachers and things. And then a second ago, you mentioned for future changes that you would get input from the students. Was there input from the students in the process that you went through in the last 3 years?
Oh, yes, most definitely, most definitely. When Kevin Turner was working on this in Harwich with me, student council was involved, faculty was involved, same thing at Chatham. So students' voices were always heard in terms of handbook issues, definitely.
There were also parts of this document, I think I'd actually say some of the more controversial pieces of this that were wrestled with a joint school council that Paul Mangelinks and Kevin Turner brought their school councils together, which include faculty, parents, and students to to wrestle with various pieces, and one piece just to kind of put on the committee's radar screen, which is page 15, has the one thing that's delicately left for those councils, or for now the Monomoy Regional High School Council, to wrestle with a committee that's going to be formed, which is how do you address weighting of grades? And there were two different systems, and philosophically out there are two very different points of view that people take, and that clearly came up, and it wasn't one of those areas that these joint groups coming together could walk away with and say, okay, we have consensus. So that's it's italicized on page 15 and is left. It's one of the things that I know Bill's already on to hash this one out, and I suspect at some point during the school year, they'll be coming back and discussing where Monomoy is going to land when it comes to this issue.
You just referred to the input of the school council. If I remember correctly, the school councils have one or two students on school council. I want to get the terms correct. There's student council and there's school council, which is made up primarily of parents and teachers, correct?
Parents, teachers, community members, students
Right.
on school council.
Right, but that's only a few, probably in the combined two systems, probably 4 or 5 students. Was there also input specifically from the student councils and or students not on school student councils?
For the particular topic of the grades?
Well, no, not for the grades, for the whole process.
Yes, student council discusses any of the issues in the handbook or anything else that they're interested in seeing a change to in policy or protocol in the school. Student council can do that and arrive at a recommendation to faculty and administration. In fact, something that grew out of that process was for senior exams, exempting students from senior exams. They wanted to have that privilege, and they worked on a whole proposal on what students would need to do to be exempt from final exams. And then that went to the faculty. Actually, students made a presentation at the faculty meeting. Faculty discussed it. Faculty voted on that and honored that, and that was adopted. That was last year. So there is a forum for students to come forward with their proposal and present it to faculty, have it discussed, and have a decision rendered.
I'm really glad to hear that, because I think it's so important. It's not a situation where obviously the students are allowed to create a handbook, but by having a significant input into it and having their positions, discussed and respected to the extent possible, I would think they would be more willing to adopt it and accept it as the rules of the school, as opposed to something that's simply, thrust upon them. So I really appreciate that, and I compliment you on that. I can't stop my portion of the questions, though, without asking you about the allergy thing. Coming in here, we had to come in a different door. I had to come in through the cafeteria, and I couldn't. I noticed there was a table for students who have crab allergies. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, we have nut allergies, we have gluten, and we have crab.
Is crab commonly served?
No, we usually don't have crab on the menu.
Just lobster.
Friday's lobster day.
I didn't realize we served crab, so I didn't know that was a big deal.
We'll send out invitations when we have the lobster on.
I'll admit that
No crab.
my children's favorite things to bring in their lunches is sushi, which oftentimes has crab.
My times have changed.
Yeah.
I have to
Lot
say,
of
very
sushi.
few students take advantage of those tables. They know it's available to them. But at the high school level, most of the students know their tolerance and what they can be around versus what they can't eat. And the tables are available for students. Not too many students take advantage of it, but it's there for them. We also keep the appropriate cleaning products in that area so that tables can be washed down in between lunch periods. The nice thing about the lunch periods this year is when one leaves, the next one isn't coming right in, there's a break. So it gives the cafeteria staff and any of the teachers around time to do any quick cleanups.
I thought for a moment that was crap was just short for crappy. That you just said somewhat unhappy. I get it now. Thank you.
Any other questions? Make the motion?
I move to adopt the first Monomoy Regional High School Student Parent Handbook for 2014-2015.
Second.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Moving on to the middle school.
Good evening, Brian Daniels, principal at the middle school. This is my first opportunity to congratulate the committee, both building and school committee, on this wonderful facility, which is something obviously that the towns will be very proud of for a very long time. My thanks to the buildings and grounds folks who have done a spectacular job of getting us up and running in Chatham at Monomoy Regional Middle. And much like Mr. Burkhead, my congratulations to the faculty. It was a joyful moment to come out to the lawn on our first day and watch teachers come out holding their team signs and students gather around them and celebrate this new entity. Even though it wasn't a new building, it was just as important a brand new start. They will always be the first students to experience that, this being the first faculty, so that was a wonderful moment. I was going to start by complimenting Mr. Burkhead on his commitment to environmental conservation, but apparently it's just probably a learning curve, but we'll all get there. Just quickly on enrollment, I don't have hard choice figures tonight. One of our administrative assistants was at a training today, we just couldn't get to that piece. What I can say is that we are enrolling multiple students on a daily basis since mid-August. I think we enrolled 6 students so far this week, with a number of choice letters. Somebody father came in to meet me yesterday, returning from Nauset after 2 days of Nauset Middle. I don't know if that's an appropriate test, but she's back to Monomoy. So I look forward to being overcrowded. We're doing our best to make that happen. On the handbook, I've had a very different experience, but I am just as in debt to Janie as Bill is, perhaps even more, because she's not my assistant, but in this case she very much was. When I finally had a chance to sit down with Sean Fleming, the assistant at the middle school and former assistant at Harwich, and we took a look at the resources, old books that were available from the 2 schools, they really didn't speak to either of us as to lending themselves to a successful blending. Philosophically, I very much believe that a middle school handbook should reflect and support what the high school handbook has to say. So students are not confused, well, we could do it here and we can't do it there, etc. And so what this handbook is a reflection of exactly that, where we have removed the items that pertained exclusively to the high school, credit systems, etc. Did a little bit of tweaking around attendance policies, which do not require the same kind of allowable days missed because there's no credit system, but instead focus on early intervention with guidance and school psychologists, school administration, and with families to try to build different attendance habits in students so that when they come here they don't have to worry about what the days are. We also tweaked the cell phone policy slightly. We don't use devices at the middle school as phones. Devices can be registered, and we do that only in case somebody loses one to help them have a serial number on file somewhere and a description. Students of all ages and adults as well very often don't remember what that phone was. It was blue, was the entire description. But with teachers' permissions, they may also use computing devices, including phones, as a computing device in classrooms. But all phone calls come through the main office, and the people who are most likely to violate that is parents who text or call during the day. I have asked the faculty to be absolutely vigilant in asking students for phones when they see them being used that way. We have seen none of that yet. It is early, but that has gone without any problems at all. Plagiarism is a completely different experience in middle school. It's mostly, I don't know what that word means. So if there's a problem with plagiarism, the policy will be that students will come and meet with me, and not as a discipline or a behavior problem, but as a learning experience, and that teachers will have a path for them to recover credit, reflecting what they did or didn't know about what they were doing. A sixth grader can very honestly copy an enormous amount of material and think they have done absolutely nothing wrong. And so to help them to be ready and understand the seriousness when they get to high school and beyond. I deeply appreciate all the work that the legal team and Janie put into the legalities, the boilerplate, which should be and is the same. I think that summarizes really what our differences are. We maintain practically identical student dress policy, bus behavior policies, slightly different. We don't have Saturday school, so a slightly different detention program, but basically reflecting what their high school experience will be. So can I answer any questions? Thank you very much. That's what I was hoping.